Hello everyone, Zadex Squared here. So, as I showed off in my last video, I did get the new raid exotic, the Conditional Finality, to drop. And it's really good. It's got both stasis and solar shots, the first of which will freeze, and the second of which will cause an ignition. And in my efforts to avoid using Starfire Protocol as much as possible, I thought I'd give it a shot to try and make a build kind of centered around this, kind of centered around a few other things. So the first thing is obviously we have the Conditional Finality, but then on top of that we're running Dawn Chorus. It's a helmet exotic for the Warlock that increases the damage of your scorch effects and returns melee energy each time your scorch effects damage a target. It also gives your Daybreak projectiles scorch on contact, but I'm not actually using that here. Well's just too strong for me to avoid using it. To pair up with this, I'm running Touch of Flame and Icarus Dash. I'm running Ember of Searing, Eruption, Char, and Ashes. And I'm actually running the 2 seasonal artifact mods that buff your Firebolt grenades. So obviously I'm running Firebolt grenades with it, and then I'm running Flare Up and Rain of Firebolts. This will just make it so that I have an extra grenade charge, and whenever I use my grenade, it's going to spawn a fire sprite near them, and also on top of that, our grenades apply more scorch stacks. So this entire build has one goal in mind, and it's basically to cause as many ignitions as possible. Using Conditional Finality, we're going to be able to get ignitions very easily, and whenever we get an ignition, those ignitions have increased area of effect, and will spread scorch to any affected targets due to Embers of Eruption and Char. Ashes is just going to make it so that we apply more scorch stacks, and Searing will make it so that we get melee energy from defeating scorch targets. So not only are we getting melee energy for scorching targets, we're also getting more melee energy for defeating them. And we create Fire Sprite when that happens, which is just going to give us grenade energy. It's all about getting our abilities up as often as possible, causing as many ignitions as possible, and just dealing as much scorch damage as possible. You could also, if you don't have Conditional Finality, run this instead with any of the other solar exotics that apply scorch, or any effects like that. I'm kind of particular to Prometheus Lens because it's much easier than the others to apply scorch, but in case you don't want to run with it, you can easily use Sunshot or Polaris Lance or any other exotic that you want that applies scorch. You could even use 1K. I don't necessarily recommend it for a general mobbing build, but who knows? I mean, go for it. Playing around with this build, I found the major weakness of it is actually that Conditional Finality is a little bit too strong, and ignitions are a little bit too strong. I will consistently, in lower level activities, hit something with the ignition shot and it'll just kill everything, and the scorches won't matter, and it won't actually give me any energy back or anything like that. So using this in a slightly higher level activity is going to be ideal. Here in the exotic mission, I'm playing on Legend, so I'm about 25 power under. And as you can see, it's actually working quite well to be able to get off a shot to freeze the stronger enemies, or just put it into a weaker enemy to get the shatter going, and then also get that ignition to kill a lot of enemies, and also scorch more to be getting my melee back. I can then throw out my melee and my grenade, and due to my mods, I'm getting my melee and grenade energy back from using either one of them, which is going to make it so I can throw out even more grenades and melees. All of this is just playing into me getting as much use out of my abilities as possible, scorching as many things as possible, getting as many ignitions and explosions from those ignitions going, getting more scorch stacks applied, which is going to just do more damage due to Dawn Chorus. I also played a bit with Prometheus Lens, and while it works much better with Dawn Chorus, getting scorch stacks going, and actually getting melee energy back from scorching all of your targets, it is a little bit weaker just in the fact that you aren't killing as many things at once while doing this. You are still getting some ignitions off, they're just not quite as frequent, and you don't have those stasis explosions to be freezing things and getting the shatter damage off, which also is very helpful for that ad clear. All in all, if you're trying to run in a lower level activity, I'd definitely use Prometheus Lens or Sunshot or something like that. But if you're running in a higher level activity, Nightfall of some sort, especially if you're on Legend or higher, especially if you're a little bit under power level, or if you're doing the Legend campaign or something like that where enemies are a bit tankier, at that point I think the Conditional Finality does play a lot better, where it's able to create ignitions much more easily and actually able to deal with some of these majors that are going to be running at you and one-shotting you or getting close to by freezing them. Anyway, I've been Zadex Squared. Thanks for watching. If you have any suggestions for this build or for future builds, please leave them down in the comments below. I'd love to talk about it with you guys. Until next time, everyone. See ya.